What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and joining me as always is Ronnie Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot, Mel. Been a crazy weekend, long week. I got another one ahead of me. Hopefully everything's better with you, man.
Man, you talking like I ain't got a long week ahead of me, man. We've been snowed in and everything else. So, I'm hoping for a different outcome. And speaking of outcomes, we have royalty joining us today as the queen of the North American martial arts scene. Cynthia Rothrock joins us for a spell. Cynthia, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great.
Great
Thank
to
you.
have you on. All right, before we get started, got to do this because got to start the show off right. Show is brought to you by Box Bands, Strength through Resistance. Resistance is key. I'm still using this, and I am more energetic and tired than I've ever been. Uh, still a great product, and I'm still using it, so I'm happy with it. Kofifi for me, I'm still drinking on this coffee too. And I'm always energetic throughout the course of the day. And when I finally sit down, that's where the crash happens. But it's great coffee nonetheless. And by Uncle Rico's Quarter Mile Challenge. You need a quarterback get in shape, you got to throw over them mountains. You call Uncle Rico, pop this in, it'll get you together. Okay, so Cynthia, take us through humble beginnings, life growing up, and how did you get into martial arts?
Well, when I was a kid, I was kind of like an eclectic kid. I always liked to do everything that was not normal. So
Hmm.
I did so many things. I did like music, guitar, piano. I did baton. I did ballet. I did tap. And then I was about 13 years old, and my girlfriend's parents owned a health club. And on Sunday, they would close the club and then they would clean the equipment. And they had a big exercise room. So my friend and I would go in and we would do flips and cartwheels and play around there. And then they would put their Tung Sudo karate uniforms on and start doing their katas. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're studying Tung Sudo at the Scranton Karate School. And I was intrigued by the uniform, by the belts. And I was like, wow, you're defending yourself with your hands and your feet. So I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome. I want to try it. So I went home, told my mom about it. She signed me up for 4 months, and it was it all took off from there. It was not an easy road in the beginning, but definitely ended in an awesome path.
Okay, and with that, you became a practitioner in Tang Sudo. I believe the list goes Tang Sudo, Taekwondo, if I'm not mistaken, Eagle Claw, I believe Northern Shaolin. So, how did you get into those styles after Tang Sudo?
Well, I had my black belt in Tung Sudo, and this is back in the late '70s, and things were different then. And a friend of mine left the school, and he was studying Shaolin Kung Fu, and I saw that, and I was really, really intrigued with it. I wanted to do both, but at that time, my instructor said, "No, you can't do both. You have to choose one or the other," because back then, in that day, martial arts were different. Everybody was in a competitive school situation. So I
Mhm.
started studying Shaolin, which I didn't want to leave the Tung Sudo because I was just ready to continue on and get my second degree black belt at the time. Then from there, I went to Eagle Claw. I was competing all over the East Coast, and I saw Benson Lee from Shum Leong School in New York City, and I went, "Oh my gosh, he was doing the double-headed spear." And I was like, "I have to learn that." So I would travel for about 4.5 years to New York every Sunday, train with Master Shum. Afterwards, we would go to Chinatown and we would have dinner. And that's where I became familiar with Hong Kong movies because he would take us to a movie. And I remember the old movies like Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. So then I wanted to learn wushu, and I found Roger Tung was out on the West Coast. So I ended up coming out here to train, came to California, never went back. I was working out at Ernie Reyes's school. I became a member of the West Coast demonstration team. So then I started studying Taekwondo, got a second degree. Then from there, I went back to my Tung Sudo roots all the way up to eighth degree. And I've studied a bit in Tai Chi, and I studied Kempo with United Studios. So still learning, still training, still teaching.
So, for those that are watching, if you haven't heard by now, she is one of the most dangerous women. If you think Ronda Rousey's bad, you ain't seen Cynthia kick somebody yet. Okay, so you mentioned you go to Ernie Reyes' demo team out in California. What was that like? Because we've all seen through the years how his demo team has evolved and is so active and so energetic. So what was that like for you?
Well, I was right almost in the beginning of when he had the team. He already started it and it was going on just for a short time. But I just remember they trained so hard. And I was competing professionally and I love training really hard. And I think, Ernie had this professionalism for competition with demo teams. We really didn't see that many demo teams at the time. He was probably one of the first, especially that went out traveling. And he would bring all kinds of instructors in to get us better. And the precision was so sharp. I mean, it was just phenomenal training. And I really do think that because of um, Ernie Reyes, that he helped me actually become a better way. Well, I know he did, a martial artist, as far as performance goes, because it wasn't just doing techniques. He really focused on performance.
Yeah, and we've seen over the years like the action, the kicks, the forms of the demo team is something that you don't really see anymore as far as martial arts is concerned, as far as the performance aspect of it. And that's a beautiful thing coming from you know California all the way to bring it across the country and the world. So the demo team is awesome as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it like what, over like 40 years, and he just got
Yeah.
better and better and better. But I know he was very tough on us, and we had to train every single day. We had to perform all over the world. We were competing, and I just loved it. He was such an inspiration, and even today, he's such an inspiration for me as well.
That's a beautiful thing. All right,
Now,
we're gonna. Go ahead, Ryan.
not that for me, I want to go back to because you had mentioned, seeing like the different Hong Kong films and going through that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. You also have filmed a lot in Hong Kong as well, too, correct? Now, with that, Cynthia, how long were you there for? Like, what was that experience like when you had a chance to be a part of that scene? Like, what was that like for you? Was that like, oh my gosh, I'm actually here versus, just watching it? What was that like for you, that experience over in Hong Kong?
Well, it was a different experience because what happened is Peter Jennings used to do World News Tonight. They saw me on the
Mhm.
cover of a magazine, Karate magazine, and they were like, back in that day, oh, who's this woman in martial arts? So they came to do an interview with me, and I said, well, I'm off to Hong Kong to do this movie. It's been, well, actually, it was kind of an interesting story because Corey Yoon was in LA and he was looking for a new Bruce Lee, and he called Ernie's team because he knew all the guys were phenomenal on it. And he said, bring the guys down, they're looking for someone to be the next Bruce Lee. And he said, what about the girls? And they're like, yeah, you can bring the girls, but they're really looking for a guy. So we all went down and I had to do some forms, self-defense, fighting weapons, and Corey Yoon says, I want the girl. So I signed the contract and I thought, oh, I'm just going to Hong Kong. I had no idea what to expect, didn't know anything too much about the movie world. I thought I was going into Hans Island. I was like, oh my God, I have long braids on me and I'll be twirling my hair with the razor blades. I'll have the Chinese uniform on. I thought it was going to be a period film because that's all I saw. So anyway, after
Mhm.
about a year, well, Peter Jennings did this, and I said, "Yeah, I signed this movie contract, but they haven't contacted me. It was been about a year and a half." And he said, "Look out, Hong Kong! Here she comes." So it appears in Hong Kong, and Sammo Hung said, "Who's this girl?" And Corey Yoon goes, "Oh yeah, well we signed her up, right? But MCU never used her." He goes, "I want her." So they put together Yes, Madam. So off I went. I had no idea what to expect, and I get there and they're like, oh, no, you're going to play Cindy, a cop from England. And I was like, what? I was like, okay. And my first scene was with Yes, Madam, with Michelle Yeoh in the airport. And it was an all-night shoot. And I was so nervous. I didn't sleep. So I've been up for like over 36 hours, right? Nervous, didn't know what to say. And they were like, okay, we want you to say your lines in Chinese. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even say them in English. I'm so nervous. Never mind trying to remember Chinese. So I remember I just went like, up thing, yummy, 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 yummy. I just kept like, my mouth kept going. And they're, that's fine. And I'm like, no, it's not. I said, hum, 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 hum. And they're like, we film with no sound. Doesn't matter. Just open your mouth. So it was crazy. I never expected, well, I was used to the hard training from Ernie Reyes, but boy, this was
Mhm.
brutal, you know, because like you see in the Jackie Chan movies, you know, everything is like really, really hard, and you're doing scenes like different fight scenes about 30, 40 times. You're not just doing them like once, twice, good, move on. A lot of bruises, but I loved it. You know, I was, like I said, you know, I was that crazy kind of kid, you know, like, yes, challenge me, anything I can do it, the harder the better. So I had that mindset that I could do it. You know, I've got hurt many times, and I ended up being in Hong Kong from 1985 to 1988, and then I went back in 92. So I did 7 movies, probably kind of almost in that 3-year period.
Nice.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if memory serves me right, Yes, Madam was over under the Golden Harvest uh, brand, correct?
Yes.
Uh, and of course, Golden Harvest gave Bruce his first shot with Fist of Fury and the Big Boss, if I'm not mistaken. But they pair you with Michelle Yeoh. As we all know, if you're the queen of the West, she's the queen of the East as far as martial arts films are concerned. So, what was that like working with her and having to do the fight scenes with Michelle?
Well, you know, when I first met Michelle, she only did one action picture before, and she wasn't really a martial artist. She was a dancer, so she was very flexible.
Mm.
So I thought she did phenomenal, like pulling off the action. And I think the two of us, you know, we became really good friends, and we just cheered each other on. Like one of us would get hurt, and the other one would be there. Okay, let's get up and do it. And I think we kind of just had this thing, like, yeah, we're going to do whatever Corey Yuen says, no matter how hard it is. And she'd see me do something, and that would influence her to go through this glass, or, you know, influence me to stay on the split on a wall for like 3 hours, you know. And I think we were just each other's support team. She was one of the few people that spoke English. So we became very good friends. And I thought I was just going to do that one movie. I thought that would be it. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll be on the poster. And someday I could tell my kids, yeah, your mom was in a movie. Look, here's the poster. I never really thought that it was going to continue on to a career. And that movie became a huge success all over the world. And right away, I got offers from all the companies in Hong Kong, you know, to do a few pictures with them. And of course, I grew up with Golden Harvest, you know, that opening to their movies. It still gives me chills to this day. So I went with Golden Harvest.
I gotta say something about that because, like, you know, first of all, it's just good to hear you not only talk about your experience in doing that, but just the humility in it. You know, because for you to say here to us, like, hey, I only expected to do the one film. I didn't think it was going to be an entire career. Where there's some people who set out to do that from the beginning, and then for you to have these opportunities come to you, or just to be blessed in that way, it just sounds really, really cool to hear that. You know, to get that rawness of the story itself. So I just wanted to kind of point that out for anyone that was listening and kind of like, oh, okay, cool. So this wasn't something she was really planning on doing, but she's really good at it. And it kind of fell in, you know what I mean? Like, it's just cool to hear that. I just really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I kind of think like that, you know, we're all here on this in this world to help find our path, whatever we do in life, you know. And my path came to me early. And you're right, I am blessed because I can't see myself doing anything else, because I love martial arts, I love teaching, I love acting, you know. And it just like fell right into place. I never said, "Ooh, I'm going to be a action star," you know. It just sort of it fell into it. And I think, you know, definitely God showed me the way, and that was my path of life that I was to take.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and that's absolutely awesome. All right, I have to ask because working with Golden Harvest, you stay there for 3 years, you come back, and you're in in our minds, you're already a worldwide sensation because not a lot of people can say they've worked with Michelle, they worked with Samo and Corey Yun and Golden Harvest. So when you come back, what's the movie scene like for you as you land and as you start going back into martial arts?
In America? Or,
Yes.
yeah. Well, it was like a holiday for me because I remember like we were doing China O'Brien, right? And that was like my, you know, first movie here, like in America. And but then after that, I did martial law. That was after my contract was up with Golden Harvest, and it was like I didn't need pads. The fighting was so simple, you know. And the movies were finished in 3 to 5 weeks. Like Yes, Madam, we shot it in 7.5 months. You know, I was used to getting hit so hard, and I remember the stunt coordinators were like, "Cynthia, you don't have to hit so hard." And I was like, "But I'm used to it. I'm used to Corey Yoon saying, Cindy, harder, harder," you know. And it was different for me. It was like it was easy, you know. But then it gave me the opportunity to work on the acting, because when I was in Hong Kong, I never knew what they were saying. No, there was no script. Nobody told me, you know, and I wouldn't know. Oh, so that's why I put my badge on the desk. I was getting fired. You know, they didn't even tell me that. Like, go in, put your on the desk, you know. Or like I remember I was doing Magic Crystal, and he goes, "Look up at the ceiling." Wong Jing was directing. He said, "Look up at the ceiling." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Doesn't matter. Just look up at the ceiling." When I see the movie, we're getting invaded by aliens. I was like, I think that might have been a note you should have told me.
Oh man, that's got to be funny. Wait, why am I doing it?
I
When you
know.
finally look at the movie and you're like, oh, because you. Oh, all right, that makes sense.
I know. I'm counting the holes in the ceiling, you know, and it's like, I don't know. I'm getting invaded by the aliens from Mars.
Now,
That's
going a little bit further into it, because with you returning back to America, with you having this set of movies that you've done, and then like the Golden Harvest and all these other projects, it's funny because looking up some of these films, I saw that you had multiple interactions with Don the Dragon Wilson. What was that like to work with him, and just how is he as a person?
Well, today Don is one of my best friends. You know, I see him all the time. We talk all the time. We've done a lot of movies together, but I knew Don before the film industry. I knew him from going to martial art events, and we actually laugh about this. I think he is my oldest friend in the martial arts. So so I knew him, so it was like family. And then he's still family, and he's like the greatest guy. He's so giving to people, you know, when they come up to him and they'll ask him a question, be prepared to have him answer that question for about 2 hours, because he just keeps talking and talking and talking. He loves martial arts, loves to talk about martial arts, and he's very down to earth and very approachable and humble. And like you said, he has no ego, and I love him for that.
man. That you
Yeah.
took my fire on that one because I was wondering the same thing. So I'm gonna let you have that one. Uh, I gotta go back to this because this is one of, if not my favorite movie that you've done. You meet Jalal Murhai, and he tells you he's got a movie he's working on called Tiger Claws with Bolo. And for those that don't know, and those that are going to watch this later on, the movie is pretty, it's not brutal by today's standards, but in 1991, you got to think Bolo, Bolo ain't small. Not only is he not small, he's a very skilled martial artist. And he has worked with Bruce Lee, has worked with Jackie Chan, and he has worked with you and many other martial artists. So they decide, for whatever reason, to turn him into a serial killer. Why? I don't know. But what was this movie like for you, playing a cop, with you had done with China O'Brien and martial law? But this one, you're tracking down a very skilled martial artist as a serial killer. So, what was this script like? And what was the interactions and behind the scenes like for you working with Bolo and Jalal?
Well, I met Jalal in LA. We actually went to a producer's office. We were talking about this movie. So by the time we shot it, we already became kind of friends. I was excited about shooting in Canada because we shot it in Canada. So I was like, oh yeah, I get to experience, Toronto and Bolo. And I was excited about Bolo because I was like, oh, I'm fighting back with someone from Hong Kong. I could hit really hard and they get really hard, and we can have some really, really good fight scenes. And I remember on our first fight scene, Bolo said to me, "Don't hit me." And I was like, what? I can't tap you? He's like, no, don't hit me. And I was like, oh my God, here I had this big expectation. We'd have this big down and out brutal fight scene. But it was funny at that time, Bolo really didn't speak too much English. So, he he kind of just did a lot of like sign language and stuff. And I remember one day, Jalal worked really hard on that. I mean, he sold his car, his jewelry. He put that movie together by himself. And I know Bolo wasn't happy one day because we didn't get paid. And I was like, oh, Bolo, don't worry about it. So I'll pay you. He's like helping with directing. He's the lead star. He's the producer. He's doing all this stuff. He'll have the money. And Bolo didn't want to go to the set because he didn't get paid. And my mother was there. And, my mother doesn't know who Bolo is. And my mom goes, Bozo isn't happy. I'm like, don't call him Bozo. It's Bolo. It's
Ooh, as long as you don't hear that,
I was just about to say, well, it's her mother. To be fair, Mom probably didn't watch Enter the Dragon. She probably didn't watch a lot of martial arts movies. She was probably active in life, so she get a pass on that one. But if you was somebody that knew him and you said that I'm not helping you.
No, my mom didn't know anybody at the time. I remember I was supposed to do a movie with Sylvester Stallone. I was like, Mom, do you know who Sylvester Stallone is? She goes, oh, yeah, Rocky Rambo. I think that's the only person she ever knew that I worked with or was supposed to work with.
Well, I'll take that. But I mean, to be fair in the martial arts world, if you're just coming into martial arts movies, you have to do your research. Going back all the way to Bruce, Jackie, you, Van Damme. You have to do your research because now you know who these people are. Now, yeah, and it's funny because as we were trying to get in touch with you, there was I forget who it was, but somebody was putting a lot of fight clips of you in your movies up on YouTube. And it came across the one in Tiger Claws with you and I believe it was James Wong. And I'm sorry if the FCC is watching, they're going to get me for this. I don't even care. But you win the fight and you're interrogating him in the interrogation room at the precinct. And you tell him, answer the question. And he pops in a cigarette and he just tells you to kiss my yellow ass. I have to ask, because was there a part of you in that movie that wanted to just say, hold up, bro, we can fight again? Because I know me watching that movie as a kid, and you hear somebody say that to you as you're talking to him. I'm sitting up there yelling at the screen, yeah, bro, man, throw the chair at him, do something. I'm like, and now I'm looking at it like, wait, if this was today's standards and she's a cop, she'd probably get in trouble. She did right. So what was that reaction like for you? Was that even part of the script, or was that just something he threw in there?
I don't even remember that. I've done like about 70 movies. So a lot of times like people will say, oh, remember this, remember that. But I honestly don't remember that.
I just, because they for whatever reason, I don't know who edited this, but they shot the fight scene or they recorded the fight scene and then they recorded the interrogation. And I'm just like, yo, she's better than I am, because I probably would have threw the chair at him on that. Tell me, and man.
Well, I don't know. At that time when I was doing Tiger Claws, I was just like, you just do whatever they say, and you don't say anything about it. Nowadays, it's different. You might say, hey, can we change that line? Or, I don't like this. But at that time, it was like, oh, you just got to do whatever they say.
Now, Cynthia, with regards to, the films and what you've completed so far, because I know that there's a lot that you've done, but I just want to hear from you. Out of all the projects that you were a part of, which one would you say would be your favorite that you did?
Oh, that's really hard. I would say on the Hong Kong movies, I would have to say Lady Reporter was probably my favorite, because even now when I look at that and I get like impressed with the fight scenes, and I'm like, oh wait, oh my God, that's me, like doing the things. It was phenomenal. I mean, Corey Yuen just pulls the best out of you. So I would say that one. And then I guess for American movies, I say either Sworn to Justice. And I think I like that one because we had a little bit of Hong Kong influence in it. And a lot of times when I did American movies, we couldn't have that because we're shooting these movies like in 3 to 5 weeks, right? And we don't have the Hong Kong coordinators, and everything is one take, get it done fast. And we had a little bit of that element there. And I think I like that because at that point, I feel a lot of the scripts I were doing had a little bit more meaning. It wasn't just, hey, here's this girl that can fight, and really, the character development wasn't that great. So I found that was like a turning point for me, acting wise.
All right. Since you brought up your favorite movies, uh, obviously, those are your favorites that you shot. What was your favorite one to watch? Like you just can't get like if you sit down with your daughter or your son or your children or just friends, we gotta watch this one. I don't care what y'all say. Which one would that be?
Oh, that's so tough. Which one would it be? I don't know. I think I still like the old Bruce Lee movies. Return of the Dragon. It's interesting because I'm doing Black Belt Theater now with Black Belt Magazine. And what we do is we watch all these old movies, and some of them I haven't seen. Some of them are from the 60s, and then we talk about them. And so I'm getting familiarized, I guess you would say, with some of the action pictures. I have this problem. I can watch a movie and then I kind of forget about them after a while. And there's those few ones that stick into your head. And I think like Return of the Dragon, because that was so iconic for me, is seeing Chuck Norris, fighting Bruce Lee. That's probably one that I could watch over and over again. And, nowadays there's so many of them, the different ones that I like that have different elements of fighting that I like. So it's kind of hard to say which one I would watch over and over and over again.
No, that's understandable. I mean, because I know for me personally, like I'll check out anything that is new, old, something that someone recommended to me, stuff that's like top of the line, not that great, whatever. I just love to see a good martial arts film. So, I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. But I do have to ask you as well, because there's so many things that you've accomplished. We appreciate it all. I'm very happy to even have you here. This is great, so it's like a fulfillment for me. I have to ask the personal stuff too. I'm always trying to dig in a little bit. So just something real simple. Outside of the movies, outside of the teaching and everything else that you're involved with, what does a regular day look like for Cynthia Rothrock? Like when you're just chilling, like just relaxing, like what does that look like?
Well, I'm rarely home. If I'm not working, I'm out traveling. And I have a passion for extreme adventure. So I'm like hiking Everest Base Camp, Machu Picchu, Inca Trail, Mount Fuji. Recently, I just got involved scuba diving. I've been diving for like a year now. Actually, when COVID hit, I was like, I'm home all the time. What can I do? Oh, wait, I could learn how to scuba dive because they're still doing that. And I've had like over 125 dives right now in a year. So
Oh, wow.
I think when I attack something, when I really like it and I get a passion for it, I just go out full force. So I've been doing a lot of dive trips, just came back from Maldives. So I do that. If I'm at home, you'll catch me doing hot yoga, walking my dogs. I have a lot of energy. So I'm always, and people are like, don't you ever relax? I'm like, yeah, well, diving is relaxing for me, or hiking is relaxing for me. But so anything active is kind of relaxing for me. I just always have, a lot of energy.
So that's the key to you looking younger than us, apparently. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to
I
say,
understand that. You
and it's
know.
crazy. But you know what, Smooth? It's crazy because every martial artist we've had on the show don't look like they aged.
No, age less. Like it's
Right.
like you hit 30 and it just stops. You know what I'm
Like
saying? Like
apparently
you're out with
they start giving out the
little
fountain of youth.
yeah, apparently, man, I'm here like cutting out, white hairs and gray hairs and all of that, and trying to figure out how
Man.
to stop the thinning. And then, she come on the show upstaging me and everything. So it's cool.
I
It's
think
cool.
I attribute it to, a lifetime of training. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, your body is always staying fit. You're always in health. And then also it's not only the physical, it's also the mental, like I don't accept age. Like nobody will say, oh, but can you do that? I'm like, of course I can do it. Why can't I do it? So that isn't even in my vocabulary. And when people say, oh, I'm too old to do this, oh, it drives me crazy. I'm like, no, if you think that, you're going to get that way, And I think a lot of us martial artists like Olivier Gruner, you look at him, he looks phenomenal. He's still fighting. Don Wilson, and I think it's just, it's that warrior spirit, I guess, inside
Hmm.
spiritually and mentally and physically that we have all lived our complete lives doing.
So Don, if you're watching, you're next. We looking for you too. So can't avoid this forever. But no.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so I don't want to say it's retirement, but you know, we haven't seen you in a movie in a while, understandably so, because life goes on. But what is life like outside of the movie scene for you? What is not a normal day, but like what is scheduling like? What is activities? You mentioned your school, so what is all of that like nowadays?
Well, first, I still am doing movies. I just completed a movie called Wrath of Prey. So I did that. I'm doing Black Belt Theater now. We're currently shooting that. So I still shooting. I have a couple projects that I'm going to do right now. I'm reading a script that's going to go. So I haven't stopped that. I still do that. But I think, uh, I just keep busy. I teach a lot of seminars around the world. I do personal appearances all over the world. I'm really strong on social media with my YouTube channel. I have a new association that I'm doing. So I'm actually pretty busy. I really don't have too much of a downtime. I always am finding something creative to do.
Uh, the school, because I'm really interested in the school. What's the school like? What's what are you teaching everything or just Tang Sudo, Taekwondo? Like what block can we find that? And what are the students like? Are they starstruck or are they just like, oh, she's a teacher to us?
I think I get a lot, they think that I'm an actress. And then when I can teach, it's like, oh my God, you can teach. You're so good at teaching. It's like, yeah, because I've done that many years before I did martial art movies. So I think they are, but then once I start teaching, they realize, oh wow, I can learn a lot of knowledge from her. And since I have been studying, ever since I was 13, and I still picking up information and knowledge, because I feel like my brain is like a sponge. Any knowledge I can get can help me. I kind of just teach. I don't know if it's self-defense. I kind of go toward the Chinese styles. Weapons, do Chinese kicking. I do the Korean style, and I do fight choreography seminars. I do conditioning and stretching. So it's kind of like when I'm teaching a seminar, I just kind of ask the instructor what they want, what they feel their students will want. And then I'll see the level of the class right away. And then from that that moment on, I'll know what I'm going to teach. So I'm not kind of like, I'm going to teach this, I'm going to plan this out. It's just kind of, let me look at what you can do. And then I know where your weaknesses are. And I know how I can help you be a better martial artist.
Cool.
Man, you about to make me see if I need to read a script or something. This is gonna be awesome.
Speaking of scripts, so there's some buzz going on. I should have found out if you even allowed to even say anything, but looking at my guy's hoodie right there, will you be in season 5 of Cobra Kai?
Well, I was mentioned in what was it, season 4, episode 7, and William Zabka said, yeah, hell yeah, she's a badass, because the girl said it. And I got so many messages. I think I had, like, in 3 days, I had over like almost 1,000 messages from people sending it to me. And I was like, yeah, I saw it. I'm a big fan of the show. I love it. And the producer contacted me and said, hey, I hope our paths cross. And I saw, like, people start sending me, there's websites, 7 reasons why Cynthia Rothrock, can't even say my name right, Cynthia Rothrock should be on Cobra Kai. All these different sites. There's campaigns with people like trying to say, yeah, get her on. So I'm hoping that they see that there's a large population of martial artists that would like to see me on the show. I would love to be on the show. So we'll see. There's not 5. So 5 is already shot. So if it was season 6, and it's interesting all the plots everybody come up with. Oh, you should do this, or you should be this, or you should be that.
But you know what? It's interesting because in Cobra Kai, when you're watching it, you can't really tell who's good and who's bad because there's a lot of intertwining with the characters and there's a lot of flipping. So you don't know who's the real good, outside of Kreese. You don't know who's really the bad guy or the good guy. But I I honestly don't remember watching a movie where you were a bad guy. So I honestly would love to see if you decide to, because honestly, you can't deny the buzz. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna contact you regardless. But if you decide to do a season 6 with Cobra Kai, I would love to see you be a bad person. Like I want to see a villain, Cynthia Rothrock. What would that be like?
I could be bad. I could be really bad. I've been bad in a couple movies. Shanghai Express, I was not a good person, and I think what was that other one? No, not Sci-Fighter. I don't know. One I did with Don Wilson. They changed the name. I don't know. We shot it in time, and I don't know what. So I was bad there. But I like playing a bad person because most of the time I'm always a good person. But I don't care. As they just put me on the show, it doesn't matter. It'd be good person, bad person, whatever, in the middle of both.
That would, because like honestly, that would be awesome because
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think they ever aired Shanghai Express, and I think that's one of the movies that's hard to find here, just because the American movie scene only picks what they want you to watch as far as martial arts movies are concerned. So, but I do remember. Was it Journey? Were you in Journey to the West? I thought that was. It was somebody that looked like you. I can't prove it, but they looked a lot like you. But as like just for me, watching you perform, watching you, as an actress, because we've been told on the show, it's very hard for a martial artist to become an actor or actress because they're so used to just the martial arts part and not having to throw some lines in. But you pull it off effortlessly. And I feel like if this was something that we could pull off, if we could help pull off, be the bad guy, please. I don't care if you team. I don't even care if you team up with Terry. Just be the bad guy. I want to see. I want to see if Daniel could really hold his own against somebody that really know how to fight. Because Johnny lost a little style. Everybody old, but Johnny, he's supposed to tag Kreese, but he didn't. So if this pulls off, I'm all for you being a bad guy. I'm matter of fact, we're gonna start a page. Cynthia the villain.
Yeah. Yep, I would like to do that. I actually did a show once. It was a TV show called Faking It. I don't know if you know what it is. And basically, they pick someone that say, well, this particular guy was a computer guy, and he always wanted to be a martial artist, didn't know anything about martial artists. So they send him out here, and I'm his teacher, and I train him. And at the end, on Faking It, they have judges, and they say, okay, they brought in a green belt, a black belt, and him, and they had to say who was faking it, right? So I was really mean in that, and as a teacher, and people were going to me, oh my gosh, I don't want to train with you. You're so tough. And I was like, they made me. I'm not like that normally, like I was screaming at him, yelling at him, but that was kind of like how they wanted me to do. So if you see that, you'll go, whoa, I don't know if I want to train with her.
I'm about to look that up. I would take that. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah.
So moving from like the big screen, you were on the small screen, and as a kid didn't pay attention to this, but I remember my parents watching this a little bit. You were on Hercules' Legendary Journeys, and you even lended your voice to Eat the Cat. Like, what made you get into TV?
Well, they contacted me from Hercules, and they said, we'd love for you to be on the show. And I was like, oh, okay, it's shot in New Zealand. Oh, that's awesome. There's things I wanted to do in New Zealand, like black cave diving and bungee jumping and all this stuff. So I was like, that's adventure capital. I want to go there. And I remember people were saying, say hi to Kevin. I'm like, who's Kevin? Like, Kevin Sorbo, he plays Hercules. And I went, oh, I got to go watch the show, So I watched it. And actually, Kevin was one of the greatest people I ever had to work with. He was just so awesome. But I love that because it was a character, and then Eek the Cat, the producer of the show, was a fan of mine. And he's like, I want you to do this. And when I went in to do the voiceover, I remember there was like 6 of us just doing the voice, and you had to talk really fast, and they're going, it's just for like 3-year-olds, so you got to talk so fast, right? And I was like, so it was interesting because it's my first time ever doing a cartoon voiceover. So it was such great experiences. That's what I love about life, is that I get to experience things that who would ever thought, I would do
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, because my next one was Bertha Joe in the Dukes of Hazzard reunion. I do remember that. Uh, you don't normally get the associated martial artists with the Dukes of Hazzard, but this is one I'm puzzled. What got you into the Dukes of Hazzard?
Well, at that time, I remember Molly Finn, I think, was the casting director, and I worked a little bit on Eye for an Eye with Sally Field on that. So she remembered me. So they called me in and they said, "Okay, we want you to read for this part." So, I wasn't used to doing auditions. So I was like, oh, okay. So I went in and she goes, "Okay, now I want you to read for the director." And they gave me the part. So I was like, awesome. I was like, oh my God, I knew of Catherine Bach, the Daisy Dukes, and I knew the car. I was familiar
Hmm.
with it a little bit. And then when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, it's hysterical. That I loved, I think, Bubba, and I was Betty, what was that? Bertha Joe Butler or something like that. And it was the first time I ever actually that we shot it at Universal Studios. So it was like, wow, I get to go to the studio every single day. I loved it. I was a little nervous at first because I was intimidated because wow, like here's all these actors, because it was a reunion show, but they were so nice to me and it worked out great. And it was a lot of fun to shoot that.
Awesome. Got to see the General Lee up close. As a, and you know what? As much as people, knock uh, just knock the generals and the Confederate flag. That's an iconic car, man. Not only is it beautiful, but that car is iconic. Disregard the Confederacy and the Confederate flag on the top. That's still an iconic car. That car no matter what it is. So for you to be part of that, that's awesome.
I have to tell you a funny story about that car. My friend bought that car and he was at an
Really?
auction in Palm Springs and he didn't sell it. I don't know. I'm sure it was like outrageously expensive. And he called me and he says, "Can I put," and this is one of the original cars. He goes, "Can I put it in your garage?" I'm like, "No, can I leave it there?" I'm like, "No, you can't." Oh my gosh, no, I don't want to be responsible for that car. But yeah, it almost ended up in my garage.
Oh man, that'd have been awesome.
Yeah,
I-
General
listen, let
Lee.
that be me. I was driving it somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, look, I'd have told him, hey, look, don't take this personal, but if you see me out on the street, we'll talk about it later.
Right. Be like, natural disaster. I don't know what happened. A tree fell in through, my garage. Something
You see
crashed.
Hey,
I don't know.
all these pictures of me in it on Facebook.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yo,
that's before. Before all
hey,
that happened.
yeah, pulling out the phone, just snapping in the steering wheel, man. Like
Yeah, this is
that
random
probably
stuff
would have been
happening.
me. That probably would have been me. I'm gonna be honest. You put any kind of sports car that I is iconic in my garage, yeah, I'm gonna drive it at least once around the block. And by around the block, I mean like probably to another city. All right.
Right.
We do
Exactly.
have a couple we do have a couple quick topics. We didn't have a big show. So if you want to stay on with us, you're more than welcome to. If not, we understand, but it was great having you on. But in the meantime, uh, we're going to start with, if I can find it, soccer. Okay, yeah, soccer. Uh, the Cleveland Crunch, as you know, we cover. The Cleveland Crunch dominated the Cincinnati Swerve, 11-3. It's a funny story behind that. I'm not gonna say it on the air because we don't badmouth nobody, but uh, the Crunch ended up producing and airing the game, believe it or not, even though they were visiting down in Cincinnati. So they win the second meeting, dominate 11-3. They're currently undefeated still, and they are at the top of the division. It's gonna be hard pressed to stop them. Like honestly, they are on fire right now. Like they're the second half, they scored five alone. Dave Jordan pulls off another hat trick, but he ends up scoring four. If it's gonna be a team to beat them, it's gonna come out the West, and it probably won't be till playoff time. But even then, I doubt it because this team is loaded. This team is
Yeah,
loaded, and it's
look,
It's
And it looking
scary. Like,
unstoppable right now, man.
yeah,
I
it's
couldn't say
scary.
anything different. You know,
And the thing,
I
and the
feel like
crazy thing, yeah, and the crazy thing about it is, how do you stop people who play as a unit? Like that's like trying to fight Cynthia, and you have no idea what style she's gonna use.
yeah,
Like,
because I mean, you
no,
figure,
and I'm sorry, Cynthia, but that's the only way I can equivalent this team to because they have so many weapons. Sammy
mm-hmm.
has the footwork. Mike Durzik is like the toughest outside of me. He's probably like the toughest short person I know. And then you got Kevin Blackwood, who's built like a linebacker playing soccer. Like, how do you stop that? It is scary.
Yeah, yeah, you can't prepare for it all.
And for those watching, the Crunch do have one more home game this Saturday. They will be at the Soccerplex, and it'll be the final home game for the stretch of February as they will be on the road until the end of the season when they welcome back Cincinnati. And from that, I don't know if you're a fan of this or not, but we're going to talk about this. So, Cynthia, I'd like your input on this. Uh, I watched the Pro Bowl. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I didn't. I watched it. I don't care what nobody say. I'm not happy with Roger Goodell because he literally killed a game that was fun for us as kids to watch after the Super Bowl because it was back then. I mean, yeah, we had arena football, but this was the last NFL game of the season, and Roger Goodell has just killed it. It was a thud, and then the whistle blows. Like it was literally watching flag football with the pads on. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I want to know your thoughts, Cynthia, Ronnie. Me personally, I'm really like close. I'm like this close to filing like literally filing a grievance with the NFL, and I don't even work for them.
Well, I'm a gentleman, so I'm gonna say ladies first on this one.
I have to say I was out diving during that, so I did not see it.
Well, see that there you go. There you go. That shows you how boring the Pro Bowl has become when
Exactly.
when celebrities, and mind you, this game was in Vegas. So celebrities don't even watch it no more. Some of them don't even show up no more. Even when the game is in a popular town such as Vegas, Cynthia went out diving. Do you know
Yep.
how bored at the Pro Bowl you got to be? And I'm not saying diving is boring. I'm just saying you didn't even watch 5 minutes. So do you know how boring that game has to be for you to go out diving and then come back? Oh, this game's still on?
No. Wait a minute. I have to clarify that. I was in the Maldives on a liveaboard, so we did not have internet.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have a pass.
Goodell, you got a free pass on that one.
A pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, outside of the Pro Bowl, Smooth, what do you think is going on with
I
that?
mean, for me, man, it's crazy because the game, first of all, we know that it no longer is held at Aloha Stadium because it doesn't exist. That's another feature of that. And then also on top of it, there's these weird little quirky competitions they'll have, leading up to the game. So like, you
And
know,
those were boring.
and those are weird now too. It's like different every year. So if they're like, who can, I don't know, outrun these tires, or they'll have like random people racing against each other who would never run against each other, like Tyree Hill and I don't know someone else. I'm thinking y'all would never sprint against each other ever, when you're doing that. It's kind of like filling in time. It seems like before to be the week before the Super Bowl, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna take this time to I don't know fill up my pantry or do something else and focus on whatever and kind of skip over that and it just lost its flavor for me, man. And then
Yeah, and
everybody
that's
else is
my
there. And they're not even hitting like, or when they get an extra point or opportunity to do an extra point, they just stand straight up, like just like, oh, okay, we'll watch it go in there. I'm like, this is y'all last
yeah.
game of the season for those of you not in the Super Bowl, so why not?
And that's my thing. This used to be a vacation game. Like you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make the Pro Bowl to go to Hawaii. Like, well, Cynthia, you go to Hawaii when you feel like it, but for football players, you want to go to Hawaii. You want to make the Pro Bowl because Hawaii is a prime vacation spot. Not only is it a prime vacation spot, let's call it what it is. Aloha Stadium, for as old as it was and as rundown as it was an iconic stadium. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Rainbow Warriors are there. The World League was there at one point. Like you can't sit there and tell me that this game that used to be so fun to watch Thousands of people show up for the skills challenge, or what used to be the skills challenge, and the Pro Bowl itself are now not coming. You got to put the game back on the mainland. Like, dude, you're killing it, and you shouldn't have. Should have left this game alone. Let's go to Hawaii. I want to go to Hawaii. I don't care about anybody else. I want to go. Now we can't because one, they tore down the Aloha Stadium, and two, you move the game to stadiums that we watch on TV when college football is around. Like, come on, man.
Loss of flavor,
I,
man.
I, I blame a lot. I blame a lot of this on Roger Goodell, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Super Bowl is next week, and the Bengals. Can't believe I'm saying that. The Bengals
Right.
and the Rams are playing. So essentially, there are two Ohio teams in the Super Bowl. And for those that are watching that don't realize what I'm saying, I'll explain it. The what you know now is the LA Rams were once the Cleveland Rams. They left in the 40s because they couldn't compete with Paul Brown and the new Cleveland Browns. Although these two teams were in two different leagues, the Browns being in the AAFC and the Rams being in the NFL, it just didn't seem right. So Rams moved to LA, then went to St. Louis, and then back to LA. Cynthia, I would like to see or hear your prediction on the Super Bowl if you're going to watch it.
You know, that's your expertise, not mine. If I had to say, I'd guess, and so I don't know.
Just take a guess. I'll take it.
All right, Rams.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay.
Smooth.
Cool.
What about you?
Um. Man. See, I'm a little bit torn because, first of all, as people know, I'm a huge, Georgia fan. So regardless of who wins, another dog is winning the title. But I do have to say that right now, the way it's looking, just seeing how both teams have overcome adversity, I feel like Cincinnati could squeeze this one out. Um, I do feel though that with it being Stafford's first time, he definitely has an edge as well. He definitely has something to prove. He's been in the game a lot longer, and they seem to have, a pretty decent defense as well, obviously, right? So I think there's going to be a difference of like when it comes down to that last quarter or however the game is in terms of, points and all of that. I feel like the Rams will have that longevity. They have that experience. They've been there already recently,
Mhm.
so they'll know what to do defensively as well to kind of stop that late in the game. The Bengals, for some reason, they tend to have been playing a lot better lately when they come from behind. And it just seems like with them, as long as they don't come out flat, they'll be fine. I don't know if they'll be able to come from behind this time with the Rams defense if they do fall behind. But Joe Burrow just has a different level of the swagger for someone his age, being as young as he is, and only his second year in the NFL, and already being the Super Bowl. And who knows what would have happened last year if he didn't have his knees jacked up. So it's just pretty cool to see, man. But I'm gonna say like the Bengals could probably surprise people this year with it. It just looks like the Rams will just do it automatically, but I think it's gonna be a good game. It'll be a lot better than people anticipate.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, last year it wasn't gonna happen for the Bengals because clearly that offensive line, which was the same offensive line he's got now, would not have held up last year. I'm just speaking honestly. He almost
Except
died
Troy Hill
last
though.
year.
Except Troy Hill though.
But the dude, he almost died last year. Like he took like unnecessary hits, and then they tear his ACL and break his fibula. Do you know what that was like watching that? And I never broke nothing. So,
Oh, it
uh,
was terrible. It was terrible. It was definitely
okay,
terrible.
yeah, it was. I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna give a prediction because I don't care for either team. Although there, like I said, there's two Ohio teams in there. I am happy about that. But this game is going to come down to who plays smarter. If the Bengals can limit the turnovers and
Mm-hmm.
they can keep Joe Burrow upright, meaning he does not take a lot of hits throughout the course of the game, I think the Bengals have a shot. On the other hand, Matt Stafford and Odell have a big chip on their shoulder that they have not eaten yet. So this is going to be something to think about as the week comes. And I'm really I'm torn between the Rams and the Bengals. I don't know who's got the edge because it's too hard to compare them.
Mhm.
But these are two teams coming from arguably the toughest divisions in both conferences.
For
I'm
sure.
expecting a lot of hits. I'm expecting a lot of physicality, and whoever got the ball last, that's who I'm a root for.
No, for sure. And then with the Bengals, I mean, the thing that they have that the Rams don't is they had to come from behind and beat the Chiefs twice.
Yeah,
Twice.
yeah,
Who can say
yeah.
that they've done that in the last 5 years? Not one team
Nobody.
in the NFL. The Bengals
No.
can now. Twice, though. Twice. In one
Yeah,
season, by the way. Same season. Who
yeah.
thought that would happen again? I didn't. I was like, oh, they for sure not coming back in this game. And they
And they came
came for
back.
the second one. It happened. Yep. So,
Okay. One last topic, and Cynthia, I don't know if you've heard this, but we heard it, and I want. Hopefully you can give us an input on this. But in boxing, Jake Paul was it Jake or Logan? I think it was Logan. Logan Paul and Mike Tyson have agreed to an exhibition bout.
mm,
I don't
that's
know if
good.
you've heard about this, but they have not given out details yet, but they have agreed. I'm not sure how much boxing you've ever watched, but I'm pretty sure you know who Mike Tyson is.
Mhm.
Me personally, I'm looking at this as like, dude, you're stupid. Because I'm not getting in the ring with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson beat up the Fresh Prince. He beat up the Fresh Prince. Why would you think of stepping in the ring with a boxer who's obviously still in that mind frame? Like I watched the Roy Jones fight. I watched all 8 rounds of that. Mike Tyson is friends with Roy Jones Jr. If Mike is
Hmm.
trying to knock his own friend out in an exhibition match, what do you think he's gonna do to you who's an amateur? I want to hear y'all thoughts.
Well, obviously it's a big payday, so and it's news, so that's why I'm thinking it's going on both ways. But yeah, I think even though I know he's training, Logan's training with a lot of people and stuff.
Mm-mm,
I still think, yeah,
mm-mm.
if they fight realistic, yeah, Tyson, there's no way you can go against him.
So it's funny you mentioned this because I'm going to talk about real quick back on the 17th of January this year. So the Sun put this out, and they said Mike Tyson was in advanced talks with Jake Paul um, about the fight after verbally agreeing to have a deal despite their 30-year age gap. And it's funny because Mike Tyson retweeted it, and he said, "This is new to me. I saw Jake in St. Bart's, and he never mentioned it." Then they go further into it, and he had addressed it on a Full Send podcast, and he said, "Knocking out the YouTuber would be so effing easy." So, to Cynthia's point, listen,
Oh man.
Iron Mike for a reason, right? To see the kind of shape he got back into, to see, the presence that he made in, the Ip Man 3 movie and just, all of the things that he's done in the last, few years or so, um, he would tear him up. He would tear Paul up. I don't care
And
about
that
the age gap, none of that. He get
right.
him bodied up in the corner, man. That dude is Tyson is a body snatcher, right? And when you hit that cross, you falling, man. That's it.
And that's my thing. I tried to send it to you, but it wouldn't let me. I came across the video where Roy Jones was explaining how to stop Mike Tyson from killing your body. And he was saying every time Mike throws a body blow, he coming back up with the same hand to come with
Ooh.
that right cross or that hook. So you have to be
Mhm.
aware of that. Like Mike Tyson is not he's not a boxer. He's a fighter, and that's the mentality that he walked into every fight with. This is a fight,
Mhm.
and that body blow or those 2 body blows is the setup. I don't care who you are, and in Paul's case, I really don't care because if you're dumb enough to agree to any kind of in-ring action with Mike Tyson, whatever happens to you, you deserve it.
Yeah, you definitely do.
And Roy even said, he's like, I've been friends with Mike for a long time. And the way Mike was swinging, I had to grab him just to stop that
Mhm.
hook because he was out for blood. That's his moment. That's his mentality as a fighter. And I'm
Yep.
like, when we originally caught wind of this, I'm like, dude, I ain't
Well,
the smartest man on earth, and I would never
The
pretend to be the
brawler.
smartest man on earth.
The
But
brawler.
yeah, and my thing was, I was right as we caught this, like right as you sent it to me, I was literally watching. I think I could beat Mike Tyson by Will Smith, aka the Fresh Prince. So in my head, why would you agree with this? 20 years ago, 30 years ago, he beat up the Fresh Prince. What make you think he gonna take it easy on you? Are you
Right.
serious? And then you to hear him say knocking off a YouTuber would be nice. I'm canceling the fight. I like what brain cells I do have. I like what body parts I
Mhm.
do have. That's like going into a fight with a skilled MMA person, a skilled martial artist, in a not in a full contact fight, and your amateur status is maybe one real fight. Logan Paul's not a real boxer in any shape of imagination.
Nope.
Dude, you might want to cancel this fight because if he pull up another training video and he had his trainer, his sparring partners had to tell him to stop because the body blows was hurting. Yo, if this fight goes and Paul something happened to Paul, I'm just gonna say I told you so.
well, I'll tell you something. My good friend Samuel Kwok, he's a Wing Chun master. He called me the other day, and he's going next week to train him in a little bit of Wing Chun.
Mike Tyson,
Yes. So we might see
Mike,
that. We might see
See?
that 1 inch punch there.
Mike out here learning Wing Chun. This is not a game to him. Y'all keep
It's
playing with Mike.
not.
Somebody gonna end up in the hospital.
And for those of you that are familiar with the Wing Chun style, he is getting ready for close quarters right here in your face because he will walk up on you anyway. But
Right.
to have that style brought into the ring and you're literally right here and he knows exactly how to defend it and how to, maneuver real quick in the counter, like that is dangerous. Even more dangerous than when he was fighting full time professionally.
That's
Oh
not
my goodness.
dangerous, dude. That's
That's
him.
a
That's a
difference.
legal murder. That's a legal
Yeah, that's not
execution.
even you can
That's
even
a
let him
legal
do the race.
execution. What boxer do you know goes to learn martial arts, especially a close quarter style such as Wing Chun, for a
Right.
boxing match?
He's getting ready to be in his face. Oh man, that's oh wow.
Cynthia just let the cat out the bag. Cynthia just
Like
let the
she
cat
is
out
with
the
the
bag.
mic drop.
Right. Just here go my pen. I'm done.
Right, I'm hitting y'all with
Why
this
would you? And he fought Donnie Yen in Ip Man 3. So why would you think he's not opposed to fighting anybody?
exactly, exactly, man. And that was all them. Like, come on, man. They're not ready for
You
this.
you asking for trouble.
They're not ready.
You
They're not.
asking for trouble. That's like me putting it on social media. Me and Cynthia gonna have a 3 round bout. She don't know nothing about it, but when she show up, she's not happy. All right. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't know my people didn't call you. And apparently, like you said, Mike didn't know that this was going on. So now that he knows, the
Mm,
trainer's about to get hurt. The sparring
everybody.
partner's about to get hurt. It's about to be a world of bodies in the trail leading up to Paul. And I'm for it only because and this is just how I feel. Paul is not a boxer. You've been doing these exhibition fights and you've been beating up on people that have not done this. You beat Nate Robinson up. You beat an MMA fighter up, and that's not their style. See these people in their area of expertise, and I guarantee you there'll be a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, Roy Jones, Mike Tyson. That's their element. Mike knew what to do. Roy knew how to counter. And, all right, Roy. Okay, I see you coming with these body punches. Come on with it. Logan you got trouble on your hands, and I don't think you know how to defend yourself in a manner where these body punches gonna hurt. I have been kicked by some kickboxers. I've been kicked by MMA people. I've been kicked by Taekwondo people. The kicks hurt. So this is the equivalent of a kick hitting you in your ribs and you ain't defend yourself. Mike's body punches hurt. Mike's head punches have been known to cause brain damage. Dude, you might want to seriously think about canceling this fight because it ain't no amount of money in the world gonna make me step in the ring with Mike Tyson.
Not one. And he can hit through that defense, believe me. You can block all you want. You can hit right through it. Or break your wrist trying to stop them blows. So you're gonna let them hands down eventually.
Yeah, in the hands, you gonna want to stop the fight by round 3.
Like this is irking me even thinking about it. Like I can just see it in my head and like him going down and how he goes down. And, it sounds bad, man.
It recreate Rocky 3 was it Rocky 4 in my head. Throw the damn towel.
Right. That's exactly it.
Okay. Cynthia, we'd like to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Gracing us with your presence. It was an honor to have you on. You're always welcome back. Before we get out of here, do you or would you like any or give any advice to the young people out there? You want to plug your school, plug Black Belt Theater, you're more than welcome.
Yeah,
Take it away.
I just say, I think everybody should do martial arts because, it's not only you're learning how to defend yourself, but you're getting in great physical condition. So it's like, 2 things for the price of 1. And you never know, like if you have to defend yourself or someone else, it could be priceless. Anybody can contact me on Facebook and also on Instagram and watch Black Belt Theater. It shows on Jungo Plus on Saturday, and you get to see a lot of the old karate kung fu movies. And some of them are so hysterically funny, and they're not supposed to be, but that makes it great. We see how filming was back in the 60s, but it's a lot of fun, and I do it with Stefan Johnson. He's a very well-known TikTok person, comedian, voiceover, so doesn't know too much about martial arts, so it's kind of funny. We have the expert with the comedian, so it's a lot of fun. It's a fun show, so you can catch that Saturday 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Nice. Cool. All right. That concludes this episode. Oh, before I forget, we will Tuesday, we will be having a big announcement for those of you guys that follow us on all our social media platforms. Things are getting started. We told y'all we was working and we weren't lying, so things have kicked up a lot. And we got a really big change for the positive coming. So Tuesday, you don't want to miss that announcement. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I keep forgetting. Like, dude, you gotta teach me how to do Instagram, man. I'm lost. I'm seriously lost. I tried to make a post the other day. I was yelling at my phone to make the post, and I didn't know what I was doing. It's too much social media for me to keep up with. I'm just say that.
It can definitely be a lot.
Yeah, I do good with Facebook. Y'all lucky to get Facebook out of me. But don't forget to like us on all those platforms. Don't forget to catch us on our YouTube channel. This show is definitely on our YouTube channel. This show will be aired again. We'll probably repost it because this is one of the best shows we've had and one of the best guests we've had because it's not often we get royalty on our show. Not often. So thank you, Cynthia, again for joining us. Again, you're always welcome back, friend of the show. And with that, for 4th and 15, I'm Mel, that's Smooth, and that's Cynthia. Peace.